Welcome to the deep dive. We always say every episode is unique. Well, this one really is, especially for you.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because this whole deep dive is built from two reviews that you sent us.
Awesome.
Yeah, they're both about The Way of Kings
Okay.
by Brandon Sanderson.
I know that one.
Yeah.
Big book.
Huge, right? So we've got one from the fantasy review and then a dual review from fantasy literature.
Nice.
So we're going to unpack those reviews and see if this, I'm already calling it an epic, is worth your time.
Let's do it.
Let's dive in.
Yeah, these reviews are a great place to start because they both highlight how ambitious this whole thing is.
Yeah.
I mean, The Way of Kings itself is over 1,000 pages.
Oh my gosh.
And it's just the first book in a planned 10-book series
Wow.
called the Stormlight Archive.
10 books. Okay, so that is a commitment. Both reviewers seem to think it's going to be a long one, but where do you even start with a book that big?
Right.
Yeah.
Well, The Way of Kings is told from multiple perspectives, but it mainly focuses on three characters.
Okay.
Kaladin, Shallan, and Dalinar.
All right.
And then there are also all these interspersed interludes
Oh, okay.
from other characters' points of view.
Oh, wow. So many characters.
Yeah.
Let's start with Kaladin. So the fantasy review calls him the perfect character to kick off the series. And they really emphasize his backstory.
Okay.
He's a surgeon's son, but ends up forced into military slavery as a bridge man. It's pretty brutal.
It is. It is. And I think it's through those struggles that Sanderson explores, things like class discrimination and depression and the importance of family.
Wow.
And both reviews actually talk about how well Sanderson depicts Kaladin's depression and how it impacts his mental health.
Wow.
It's not just like a plot device. It feels really authentic and resonates deeply.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, speaking of characters, one of the fantasy literature reviewers thought Shallan, that's the young noblewoman learning to be a scholar, was a little too similar to characters in the Sanderson's earlier book, Warbreaker.
Okay.
Have you read that one?
I haven't, no.
Yeah, me neither. But it does make you wonder, does Sanderson rely on familiar character types? Or is he building to something bigger by using these patterns in his work?
Yeah,
It's something to keep an eye on.
definitely.
As we go through this series. Okay, then we have Dalinar, the late king's brother.
Right.
He's like this heroic figure upholding the Lethi codes of war, which is so interesting.
Yeah.
But he's also battling these mysterious visions, so you have this internal conflict.
Right. Exactly. And those Alethi codes of war are a great example of how much detail Sanderson puts into his world building.
Okay, yeah. So speaking of world building, Roshar
Yeah.
is the name of the world in this series, and both reviewers say it feels super well developed.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they both mention the high storms. High storms, these powerful storms that shape the entire ecosystem. So you don't really have lush forests, but you have these really interesting rock formations
Okay.
and plants that have adapted to survive. It's like a totally unique landscape.
That sounds so cool.
Yeah, it's really creative.
Yeah.
And then there are these fascinating beings called Spren.
Okay.
Yeah, and they're tied to emotions and natural phenomena. We get introduced to Pain Spren and Fear Spren in this first book.
Pain Sprint and Fear Sprint?
Yeah,
Okay.
pretty cool, huh?
It sounds like that ties directly into the magic system.
Yeah.
So what can you tell me about the magic systems?
Well, gemstone magic seems to be the primary system,
Okay.
but the details are still a bit murky. Then there's this concept of stormlight, a form of energy found in gems
Okay.
that might be connected to the high storms, but we're not really sure.
Okay.
We also get hints of these things called lashings, which sound a lot like gravity manipulation.
Lashings. That sounds awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. It's cool.
The reviewers seem to think that a lot of this is still being set up, though. We won't get the full picture until later in the series.
Yeah, it's true. It's like peeling back the layers of an onion. You only get these little glimpses of how complex it really is.
Okay.
And the magic system itself feels very connected to the world's history and lore.
Yeah.
Sanderson gives you just enough to get you really curious without, dumping all this exposition on you at once.
Right.
Which I think he does really well.
He's like, here's a little taste.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so now we've got the magic, the world building,
Yeah.
and these compelling characters. What about the actual plot?
Okay, so the central conflict in The Way of Kings is a war between Elethkar and the Parshendi.
Okay.
And that was triggered by the assassination of the Elephant King.
Mm.
And actually, one reviewer thought that assassination scene felt a bit too familiar, like something Sanderson had already done in one of his other books.
Oh, so maybe a recurring trope.
Yeah, maybe. But what about the pacing?
Yeah.
I mean, the book is massive. Does it drag
Yeah.
at all?
That's what I was wondering.
Not at all.
Agreed.
In fact, one of the reviewers said they were actually surprised by how fast-paced it was.
Wow.
They describe Sanderson's prose as transparent. Like it doesn't get in the way of the story at all. You're just swept along with the events as they happen.
That's good to know. What about the ending?
Well, both reviewers agree that the ending is action-packed. It's got a thrilling climax and these big revelations that definitely leave you wanting more. It feels like a satisfying conclusion to this book, but also sets the stage for what's to come.
Okay, so now we've got a feel for the plot. I want to talk a little bit more about Sanderson's writing style.
Okay. One reviewer used the word transparent to describe his writing, which I think is pretty accurate. Like his prose is clear and immersive, but it's not like,
Yeah.
going to win awards for being beautiful.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it sounds like his strength is really in drawing you into the world and keeping you engaged in the story.
Yeah.
And, one reviewer actually compared him to Robert Jordan, who wrote the Wheel of Time series,
Yeah.
which Sanderson ended up finishing.
Oh, that's right.
So it's interesting to think about how that experience might have influenced his approach to this.
Yeah, that's a great point.
The Stormlight Archive.
The Wheel of Time was also a massive series.
Right.
So maybe he learned a few tricks about, maintaining the momentum over a long saga.
Maybe, yeah, totally.
Yeah.
But I think it's also worth noting that one reviewer pointed out the assassination scene,
Yeah.
feeling a bit familiar, like something out of one of his earlier works.
Yeah.
So it does make you wonder if he can keep things fresh over 10 books,
Right.
Avoid repetition.
It's a tall order.
Yeah, it is. It is even for a seasoned writer.
Definitely.
Yeah.
But even with the possibility of some repetitive elements, it sounds like there's a lot to love about The Way of Kings.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. What really stands out to you is the biggest draw?
I think I'm fascinated by the Spren.
Yeah.
The idea that these magical beings are tied to emotions and can evolve alongside the characters.
Yeah.
It just adds another layer of depth to the world building.
Yeah.
Imagine if the Spren themselves become key to understanding,
Right.
the larger conflict.
Oh,
That would be pretty amazing.
I like that.
Yeah.
It's like the magic system is directly intertwined
Totally.
with the character development.
Yeah.
What kind of Spren do you think you would attract?
That's a tough one.
Yeah.
Maybe a curiosity Spren.
Mm.
I'm always eager to learn new things.
Okay. Yeah.
What about you?
Oh, I'd probably attract a whole swarm of procrastination Spren.
That's hilarious.
Oh, no.
I can definitely see that.
Like, ooh, shiny.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe later.
It makes you think, like,
Yeah.
if we could see the Spren someone attracts,
Yeah.
it would tell us so much about their personality.
Right.
Yeah.
It'd be like a magical personality test.
Totally.
But back to the book.
Okay.
Both reviewers seem to agree that The Way of Kings has a lot going for it.
Yeah.
Complex characters, intricate world building,
Wow.
unique magic system, action-packed plot.
Mm-hmm.
But we've talked a lot about the good stuff.
Right?
What about the negatives?
Right.
Were there any aspects of the book the reviewers didn't like?
Well, one reviewer criticized Shallon's attempts at humor,
Okay.
calling it, like, forced, a little cringy.
Yeah, sometimes Sanderson's humor doesn't quite land.
Yeah,
I think it's important to remember that every author has their strengths and weaknesses,
that's true.
even if the humor isn't perfect.
Yeah,
There's still so much to appreciate about his storytelling.
absolutely.
Yeah.
And it sounds like the other characters,
Yeah.
particularly Kaladin and his fellow bridgemen,
Yeah,
provide some more, like, genuine moments of humor.
right. Their camaraderie and banter
Yes.
really shines through.
Especially given the circumstances.
Right.
Yeah.
It's a testament to Sanderson's ability to create these relationships,
Totally.
even within this really fantastical setting.
Yeah, he does it well.
So let's turn our attention back to you.
Okay.
We've covered a lot of ground here.
Yeah.
What stands out to you the most about The Way of Kings, based on what we've discussed?
I think that's the key question,
Yeah.
What aspects of the book resonate with you the most?
Yeah.
Are you drawn to Kaladin's journey of resilience, overcoming trauma?
Yeah.
Does the intricate world building and the unique magic system pique your curiosity?
Right.
Or are you more interested in the political intrigue
Yeah.
and large-scale battles? It's about finding those elements that really grab you, that make you want to keep reading.
Exactly.
And of course, there's the big question.
Yeah.
Are you ready to commit to a 10-book series?
That is a big commitment.
It is.
But maybe it comes down to this. Are you willing to embark on this journey,
Yeah.
knowing it might have its flaws and
Yeah.
knowing it's going to take you a considerable amount of time?
It's like setting off on an expedition
Mm.
into uncharted territory, you know?
Right.
You might encounter some rough terrain along the way,
Yeah.
but the potential for discovery is immense.
I love that analogy.
Yeah.
It perfectly captures, the adventure,
Yeah.
the unknown
Uh-huh.
that comes with diving into a series like this.
Totally.
Yeah.
And even if you decide that committing to all 10 books feels too daunting right now,
Right.
the reviewers seem to agree that The Way of Kings works well as a standalone novel.
Ah, that's good to know.
Yeah.
It means you can experience a taste of
Yeah.
Sanderson's world building and storytelling
Right.
without feeling obligated
Yeah.
to, complete the whole series.
It's like taking a sample
Yeah.
before committing to the full meal.
Now, here's where things get really interesting. You might not know this, but the Stormlight Archive, along with Sanderson's other series like Mistborn, exists within this larger interconnected universe
Yes.
called the Cosmere.
The Cosmere, exactly.
Yeah.
And both reviewers hinted at some connections
Oh,
to the wider Cosmere within The Way of Kings.
okay.
Little Easter eggs for dedicated readers to discover.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah.
So it's like there's a whole secret layer of complexity
Exactly.
waiting to be uncovered.
Yeah, it adds a whole other dimension to his work.
Right.
And it's something that a lot of his fans find incredibly rewarding.
Yep.
You can start with one series and then kind of, branch out,
Yeah.
discovering these links and connections between seemingly separate stories.
That's pretty mind-blowing.
Yeah, it is.
It sounds like there's an entire universe to explore
There is.
beyond just the Stormlight Archive.
Yeah, and it keeps expanding
Wow.
with every book he releases.
Okay, before we get too lost in this vastness of the Cosmere,
Okay.
let's bring things back to the decision at hand.
Okay.
So you've got this incredible epic fantasy series in front of you, the
Yeah.
Stormlight Archive.
Yeah.
But you also have the option to explore some of Sanderson's other works first.
Right.
Like Mistborn, which is a completed trilogy.
Mhm.
So which path will you choose?
Right.
Will you just dive headfirst into the Stormlight Archive with all its sprawling glory?
Uh-huh.
Or will you, test the waters,
Right.
a shorter series like Mistborn?
Yeah.
It's a tough decision.
Both are great options.
They are, yeah.
Fantastic entry point into Sanderson's work.
Yeah.
And ultimately, the choice is yours.
Yeah. It's like choosing between a grand, feast
Right.
and a gourmet appetizer.
Okay, yeah.
Both delicious,
Yeah.
but one requires more of a commitment.
That's a great way to put it.
Yeah.
I like that.
And no matter which path you choose,
Yeah.
the most important thing is to, savor the experience.
Exactly. Yeah.
Exactly. Reading should be an adventure,
Yeah.
a journey of discovery.
Uh-huh.
And whether you decide The Way of Kings is, the right starting point for you or not,
Yeah.
I hope this deep dive has given you a clearer picture
Definitely.
of what to expect from this epic fantasy series.
We've explored a lot,
Yeah.
complex characters,
Uh-huh.
the intricate world of Roshar,
Yeah.
hints of a vast and mysterious magic system,
Right.
and just the sheer scope of Sanderson's ambition with this 10-book saga.
And we even touched on the larger Cosmere universe.
Right.
It's like this hidden tapestry
Uh-huh.
of interconnected stories
Yeah.
just waiting to be unraveled.
Waiting to be unraveled.
So go forth
Yeah.
and explore.
Dive into whichever world calls to you most.
Yeah,
And remember, there's always more to discover.
exactly.
Yeah.
And if you ever find yourself feeling overwhelmed
Okay.
by the sheer volume of amazing books out there,
Yeah.
you know where to find us.
That's right.
Just bring your sources,
Uh-huh.
and we'll help you chart a course
We will.
through, the most intriguing and thought-provoking content.
We're always here to help guide you on your reading journey.
Until next time, happy reading.